Today is a very special day in the history of Lucknow University for two reasons. One is that we have had our 67th Convocation Day of this glorious university, which is rising the steps of glory under the prudent leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor. And two, we are lucky to have Padma Bhushan Vijay Pandurang ji as our chief guest on this occasion. So, welcome, Dr. Bhatkar. We are lucky to have you here. And I would begin the interaction by knowing about yourself. How did you have your uh, initial phase of life? You were born in the year 1946,
Yes.
just a year before India attained independence in 1947. So, I'm sure that you must be having some old memories of your childhood days when India was gaining some strength. How do you recall?
Indeed, so I think what the statement which I made was that Mahatma Gandhi was very perceptive.
Mm-hmm.
He told his disciples, I would say, use the
Mm-hmm.
word disciples here,
Mm-hmm.
that now India is all set to get independence.
Mm-hmm.
And it was known that India will get independence. And we got the independence. Then he told, now be prepared to go back to your villages.
Mm-hmm.
So my father was very highly educated at that time.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was educated relatively. I'm taking today's terms.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk this one, and they told us to come to our village. So my father came back to his village.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went to Delhi for his higher education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went to Baroda University, Pune University, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back to village
Mm-hmm.
and he started on how the villages should be developed locally.
Mm-hmm.
Very important was low. So it must be that they must be imparted education in their local languages, in
Mm-hmm.
their mother tongues.
Mm-hmm.
So my father began a small school in my village,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the beginning.
Okay.
The school was in Ram Temple,
Okay.
and uh, and all the first, second, third, fourth standard
Mm-hmm.
means exam. I think this teaching was done by single teacher. That's
Mm-hmm.
called Ekal education, Ekal teacher, single teacher, and all subjects were taught.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
some often I wonder that we complain about that we don't have this, we don't have that. We sit on the ground and there are no labs. So
Mm-hmm.
we created our own labs. Most important issue that that time when I was studying, I decided we don't have labs,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll make our own labs.
Mm-hmm.
So I inspired small my friends,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that we will build the labs
Okay. From the locally
from the
available
lo-
resources.
local resources available. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
my mother was very educated
Mm-hmm.
herself,
Mm-hmm.
and we began the journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's my education journey.
Mm-hmm.
Starts in the fourth standard. So I wanted to sit with my brother,
Mm-hmm.
who was 2 years older to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to sit with him only. I
Okay.
insisted that I will get
I
education
see.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was also a teacher.
Mm-hmm. So that must have given lot of strength for independence, independent
Absolutely.
thinking and originality and various
Indeed so. Yeah.
valuable elements of education.
Indeed so. And that must. So how this will happen? First thing is we had great respect for teacher.
Mm-hmm.
As a great respect for teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and his teaching is everything to us. He's teaching all the standards simultaneously in all the subjects, and that
Mm-hmm.
was possible. It's not only my school. That was possible in many schools.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we complained about the furniture. We used to sit on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
All one standard, second standard, third standard, fourth, and single teacher used to teach everybody.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah. And that was good education.
Mm-hmm.
Most important is that was a
And
well,
that was in the local
local
Marathi
Marathi.
Marathi language. Okay.
Marathi,
Mm-hmm.
Marathi.
Okay.
Hindi was one subject.
Mm-hmm.
Hindi used to be one subject,
Mm.
and later on in fifth standard came English as one
Okay.
subject. Yes,
So, and up to which stage were you there in that school?
I was up to the fourth standard.
Okay.
So then I went to the nearby
Mm-hmm.
full school in which
Mm.
all the subjects were taught,
Okay.
and nearby school, which is a
Mm.
taluk level school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, you must have decided for getting into some technical education, right? So when did you think about that?
about the technical education after matric, it is after 10th. Um, uh,
Okay.
so we used to go to, then came the college education.
Hmm.
Yeah. So up to 10th standard, I studied in Marathi.
But did you uh, show up some kind of tendencies for devising technology or some
So one
techniques?
thing happened in the day, since we didn't have labs,
Mm-hmm.
we really didn't have labs.
Mm.
So we decided to create our own labs.
Okay.
So I
Mm-hmm.
took the leadership. My brother also took the leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and we started deciding all the experiments which are appearing in the books sometimes,
You mean at school level?
school level.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we began
Mm.
creating our own labs, and
Okay.
that was very good thing
Uh-huh.
that our teachers did not know
Mm.
how to create the labs,
Mm-hmm.
and what we were learning from the uh, some good books,
Mm-hmm.
some British books also, which are
Okay.
there in the library,
Mm-hmm.
and so we learned from them,
Mm.
and elementary
Mm.
experiments began at that level.
Mm.
Wherever the schools where we don't have lab, don't complain. The
Mm-hmm.
C.V. Raman always told
Mm.
that don't complain about you don't have this, you don't have that. You
Mm.
create your own labs. You create
Yes.
your
Mm-hmm.
and that education. So that happened in computer education later on. I think
Yes.
also. So if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have computers, build your own computers.
Yes, I think the things which develop later on,
Oh,
the strength and so that strength might have come stemmed from those old days, I guess, right? Where you had that kind of independent thinking for
yeah.
originality.
So that brings up one important thing, and because the way friendship there,
Mm-hmm.
and people enjoy creation. I think
Mm-hmm.
we humans enjoy some new creation. So
Mm-hmm.
you often a baby is born, everybody is celebrating.
That's true. That's true.
New
Yes.
creation is always
Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes.
So when I get magnet,
Mm.
for example,
Mm.
when I get crystals,
Yes.
when I get prisms,
Mm.
it's such a fascination that first time you see the single ray splitting into seven rays
That is
in different
wonderful.
colors.
Yes.
And that brings a great joy too. I remember when we went to engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and when we made the first
Mm-hmm.
transistor radio,
Mm-hmm.
and transistor with a lot of failures, lot of
Mm.
failures. I
Mm.
think you was so much learn from the your own failures. I
Yeah.
think I
Yes.
learned more than learning by passing
Yes.
exams than actually failing several times. Uh,
Right, right,
like
right.
Marie Curie, there are several
Yes, yes.
examples
Yeah,
before
yeah,
us
yeah.
that failures are teaching us so much.
So every failure is a
Yeah,
kind of springboard for new steps
yeah,
for
but then you know
success.
what fails and what works, and
Mm-hmm.
that is a you have to do again and again and again and
Mm.
again, and these failures contribute to your learning. I think.
So, sir, that kind of innovative strength for uh, building new things, that confidence comes from some studies in local language, or can it also come from
So obviously
learning
it comes.
science in English
It
medium?
obviously it comes that you are not
Mm.
you come from mother tongue.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you have to explain the concept, basically you have to explain it in the mother tongue.
Mm-hmm.
We learn from mothers, your grandmothers.
Okay.
I learned so much from my grandmother, for example.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the new education policy talks about early education in your mother tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a major policy difference. I think
Mm-hmm.
we want that now everybody insists that the farmers insist that their children or their
Mm.
daughters should learn in
Right.
English.
Right.
More important is learning. First education must be in mother tongue. So
Mm.
that is one cardinal
Mm-hmm.
um, statement
Mm.
the new education policy makes, is that early education must be in mother tongue,
Mm-hmm.
because the concepts can be
Okay.
understood in
Mm.
mother tongue only.
But nowadays there is a general tendency of sending children to English medium
Yes.
schools, even for the elementary education.
So that is not correct.
So, does that imply that those students will not be able to get good hold of the basic scientific concepts, or
See,
they can still go ahead?
if you have the teachers explaining in their mother tongue, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Mm.
simple magnets or crystals and
Mm.
optics and basic sciences,
Mm.
how they work, actually, the fundamental sciences, how they work, they must be taught in mother tongue.
Mm.
So this is a unit
Mm.
for teaching the
Mm.
teachers.
Okay.
Teaching to the teachers, I think we should experiment on. offering these courses,
Hmm.
offering our education, the primary education
Hmm.
in our mother tongues.
Okay.
Later on, we learn
Or
English
and
language.
for higher education later on one can
Uh,
switch
so
on to
then we
English
switch
language.
over to
Hmm.
learning English, and
Hmm.
as you grow to up to 10th,
Okay.
by that time you
Hmm.
start also learning in English.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like fifth standard, they begin to learn in English, uh,
Yes.
and then 10th standard.
So that also means that we should create more and more resources in the local
Yeah.
languages.
So the books must be offered.
Hmm.
The resources,
Hmm.
learning resources must be
Hmm.
created
Hmm.
in our mother tongues. That's one.
Hmm.
And enough learning materials should be available. Teachers must teach in that language.
Hmm.
And as we slowly start introducing English language.
Right. Right. So, sir, having completed your elementary education there, then you moved to the higher education side. So, where did you go for that, sir?
See, what often begins that when you go to college, that is
Mm-hmm.
because I think we choose discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So go to
Right.
biology
Yes.
or go to engineering.
Yeah.
So that is the basic choices you have to make.
Even today, I mean, people have generally they have two choices: either
Yes.
become a doctor or an engineer, right?
Which is not good. And that the new
uh,
education talks about
mm,
learning many things
mm-hmm, mm.
simultaneously.
Right.
We're not just engineering
Yes.
and medicine,
Yes.
and that thing, which is not correct. Because if I don't know medicine, suppose
Mm.
I don't know biology, then I will
Mm.
never know medicine at all.
Yes.
So which is not a good choice. So we offer liberal education.
So, yes, so offering liberal alternatives
Yes,
at the elementary level is
yes,
quite essential so that a child knows about other options as well.
yes, yes,
Otherwise, we generally kill the curiosity and we often shut down the gates.
yes, right.
Only two gates are open: engineering and
So I
and
often
doctor.
regret that kind of thing. Only
Mm.
these two gates were available to enter if it is
Mm-hmm.
engineering or
Yeah.
medicine, biology. Means,
So
but
you chose engineering because of your own choice,
that's my
right?
own
Because
choice.
there was no such pressure, I think,
No, there was no pressure
from
on that time.
your parents' side or
Yeah,
from.
but you go to different streams of
Mm.
different colleges.
Okay.
So engineering colleges are different, or
Mm-hmm.
these biology or medical colleges are different.
Okay.
Two different distinct disciplines emerged at that time,
Right.
which is not correct.
Which is not correct.
Which is not correct. Yes.
So, was there a specific reason for you to choose electronics in
There
your
was no
further?
electronics at that time.
Okay, electrical. So you went for
I chose
electrical.
electrical.
Ah, ha, ha,
Electronics emerged
ha.
the subject, I think, at that time in engineering.
Ah, ha, ha, ha.
When engineering electronics was being taught as one subject.
Hmm, 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 hmm,
So there was no electronics.
okay.
It began to emerge at that time.
So you started with electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering.
And later on, at what stage did you feel that you are more inclined towards electronics?
It was not by my choice,
Mm-hmm.
but what was being offered.
Okay,
You don't.
I see.
When I saw the first book of electronics
Mm-hmm.
in the first engineering college,
Mm-hmm.
and where electronics was just one subject,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the beginning of my electronics learning.
Okay.
Yes,
So then, when you had started electronics, did you have some kind of dreams in your mind that you would be able to accomplish?
it was
Uh,
not known. The path was not
okay,
really.
it was not so clear.
It was not so clear that what
Mm-hmm.
will be happening.
Mm-hmm.
One major event happened was invention of
Okay.
semiconductor.
Mm.
So that was invented, I think, at that time, and that began really the story of India.
So they were invented 1948, I guess, right? 1948,
Yes,
and they could not be developed. I mean, at an early
no,
stage.
so
Mm.
72
In 72, the
the
first microprocessor kind of.
microprocessor came. That is the
Mm-hmm.
whole idea. The thing they used to create chips,
Mm.
uh, entire computer on a chip.
Mm.
So they had seen a computer,
Mm.
whole computer running, big computer
Mm.
running.
Mm.
So somebody got the idea, why not
Mm.
put the entire computer on a chip itself
Mm.
instead of design? So
Mm.
different circuits,
Mm.
and every time changing them like calculators, different calculator chips were coming. So that time somebody got here. Why not put the whole computer itself on a
And
chip?
what was the size of the chip?
Chip at that time,
I
of
mean,
course,
yeah, yeah.
there was something like putting on the thumbs
Okay,
nail.
okay, thumbnail
Now
size.
millions of such
Uh,
transistors can be kept
so you
put
mean
in.
in 1972 we developed a computer on a chip size?
Yeah, that was we miss.
But that was a primitive kind of
Yeah,
computing system,
at that time
right?
it was very primitive. Few
Mm-hmm.
few transistors on a chip.
Okay.
showing
Okay.
AND gates and OR gates and NAND gates, all that
Okay.
kind of things.
Okay. But then later on with time,
Yeah.
the success rate, I think, escalated
That is
tremendously.
that is amazing
Hmm.
that
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, so when you got the idea that putting a whole computer on a chip
Hmm.
and that success was created,
Hmm.
and then they thought there is no limit to this.
Okay.
There is no limit to this. We can so more so experiments were done in more on the scale of integration,
Hmm.
more transistors on a chip.
Okay.
The level of so VLSI
Hmm.
means very large circuit on
Yes.
a chip
Yes.
integration.
Yes. Yes.
So that integration started occurring.
So that is how we started building the idea about supercomputing.
Yeah, that later on,
Okay,
as I
much
said.
later on.
Yeah, much later on.
Mm-hmm. So when
Supercomputing
was that exactly?
supercomputing journey began because the US
Mm.
denied the such supercomputers to India. We have
Mm-hmm.
wanted supercomputers
Mm.
for our weather prediction.
Okay.
Then when will the clouds, when will the rays come?
Mm.
And then we require weather models.
Mm.
Such weather models were being developed in Europe
Mm.
at that time, and India was trying its own way through our IMD, Meteorological Department,
Mm.
and but that technology was not available to us. So
So
when
we were dependent on the
we were
American
depending on the
technology,
basically American
American
technology.
technology at that time, and we had
Yeah.
to pay a heavy price, I think, for that.
So they were
Mm.
not just available.
Okay.
They were denied to us because
Mm.
they
Mm.
thought it's a very strategic technology,
Mm.
and the strategic technology cannot be shared with
Mm.
other nations.
Mm.
And the US came into some extent that
Mm.
they will not share with anybody. So
Okay.
India was a means America will have
Mm.
this very strategic technology with it, which is now not
Mm.
available to even to NATO countries at that
Okay.
time. Yes.
I see.
Uh,
So it means that nations must have been really under a great rain of pressure or this thing to develop their own. I don't know what
so that was the
NATO's
pressure
countries
when
did.
was denied, and when Rajiv Gandhi first time went to Ronald Reagan,
Mm-hmm.
when he was the president at the time. So Ronald Reagan had a soft outlook to this whole thing,
Mm.
not a
Mm.
look of power, nations with power of
Mm.
some story technologies. He said we may be able to share this technology with other nations,
Mm.
but this must not use for strategic technology,
Okay.
for the game, for the war games, for the not the games, but for war
Mm-hmm.
games itself. And
Mm.
this will not be shared with any other country, including European countries.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm.
Then Rajiv Gandhi means it was slightly denied to us.
Mm.
He felt humiliated somewhat.
Humiliated. Mm.
Humiliated
Mm.
somewhat.
Mm.
So he came back and invited many scientists. And I was one of them because I was working
I
in
see.
electronics.
That was the
For,
beginning of your.
yeah, that was the journey of my in electronics
Yes.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already director of a lab,
Mm-hmm.
major lab, India's
Mm-hmm.
largest lab
Mm.
on electronics at that
Okay.
time. Yes.
So where was that lab in?
Is the lab at that time was in Trivandrum.
Okay.
Trivandrum, we were working.
Okay.
There was the Electronics Research and Development Center,
Mm.
and we had made the first lab of
Okay.
that kind in India.
So then the prime minister called the scientist and gave them a target to complete,
Yeah,
probably.
Mrs. said that
Mm.
can you not develop? So
Mm-hmm.
the question was asked to me. Actually, I was the
Mm.
director of a major lab.
Okay.
As a kind of why can't we develop
Yes. Yes.
this? Why we have to ask US? So
Mm-hmm.
we have before us the space program,
Yeah.
the extraordinary success, or
Mm.
we started to beginning to achieve
Yes.
in space technology.
Yeah.
Before that, Dr. Bhabha
Yes.
brought us the nuclear technology.
Yeah.
That why not we construct a bomb ourselves?
Yes.
Or bomb is at that time peace bomb. That we said unless we have that power, so
Mm.
no nations
Mm.
will dare to invade us.
Right.
And
So how did you respond to this call from the
so
prime
when
minister?
he called for a meeting
Mm.
with directly with him,
Mm.
and his advisor,
Mm.
K.R. Narayanan
Mm-hmm.
was from Kerala.
Mm.
So he was the electronics minister of electronics,
Okay.
and with him he called a meeting,
Mm.
and he was asking why can't India develop its own supercomputer?
I see.
And that question was directly asked to me, uh, Dr. Bhatkar, why can't we develop one? So my intuitive answer, I
Mm-hmm.
said I have not seen a supercomputer live.
Mm. Mm.
Yes, I've seen pictures of supercomputers. That time, thing, not this technology was not available to record and these kind
Mm.
of things. But I have confidence in what Vikram Sarabhai achieved in the space technology, Dr. Bhabha achieved in the nuclear technology. So we should be able to develop our own supercomputers in the same image, same
Right.
vision like them.
So you were given a challenge and you accepted the challenge
Yes,
later on, right?
many
Mm.
scientists were
Mm-hmm.
called for, and of
Mm.
course, I was the head of the laboratory, director of the laboratory, first electronics laboratory in India.
Mm.
I think very major laboratory was
Mm.
called ER&DC, Electronics Research
Mm.
and Development Center,
Mm.
and I must tell this was one of the first labs in
Mm.
India
Mm.
where we developed from ground up everything.
Right.
From-
So how much time did it take to complete that mission
So the mission,
thereafter?
I said, how much time is
I mean, you must have built your
uh,
team thereafter, and then.
precisely.
Hmm.
So we are assembling a
Yeah.
our team in electronics.
Hmm.
Uh, in that time, ERNDC,
Hmm.
there was engineering college there
Hmm.
in Trivandrum, and they used to teach electronics as one of the subjects.
Hmm.
And so, really, when I asked the question, I said I have not seen a supercomputer, and but I can tell by my inner confidence was very uh, that if such a call comes, we should be able to develop a supercomputer.
Hmm.
And he was very pleased that we develop our own indigenous supercomputer.
Hmm.
Mm. Next question is
Hmm.
how many years it will take
Yeah, yeah. So the timeline was to be defined.
or defined.
Right.
And of course, I say I had not seen.
Yeah.
So, but
So
still,
you were under pressure, right, at that time when you
press
had to.
MB says, of course, it's such questions whenever the Prime Minister asks or
Hmm.
somebody asks to
Hmm.
strategically. The
Hmm.
same question was asked to Dr. Bhabha.
Yes.
Pandit Nehru asked the same question at
Hmm.
that time.
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
much time it will take?
Yeah.
He said, I told this can be done within 3 years,
All right.
emphatically.
Hmm.
Uh, so 3 years is not big time.
Yeah.
We should be able to do the full technology and whole lab for that.
Yes. It is unusual to say it would take 3 years,
3 years, right to
right?
ground up,
I mean,
everything.
one could even talk about 1 decade,
Yes.
but decade would have been long, I
So
guess.
that's why I thought even 4 years would have been long. So I said 3 years.
Right. So
Yeah,
that was instant response,
instant response.
and you were able to develop that computer, within that
And that
stipulated
was done
time.
within 2 years.
Hmm. I
We
see.
did it within 2 years actually, less than
Uh,
that 3 years.
right. So, sir, at that time when you had achieved that supercomputing system, what was the response of the US side? Because it was a challenge for them also. I mean, we had challenged their
No, they thought
strength.
that no nation would be able to develop. Other than that's what
Hmm.
Samuel Cray, the
Hmm.
father of supercomputers
Hmm.
in the world, I
Hmm.
think he said
Hmm.
that no country will be able to develop this technology in a reasonable time.
Hmm. Right. So that was a huge achievement, thanks to the capability of Indian scientists led by you at that
At that time.
moment. Yes, at that time. And even looking at the today's scales, it looks to be appears to be a huge achievement.
Yes.
I mean, thereafter the technology has developed further. So to up
The,
to what
the,
scales do you see?
all along, the whole electronics
Hmm.
technology has been developing,
Hmm.
galloping at such a rate.
Hmm.
There are few comparisons for that.
Hmm.
The, the progress we made when microprocessor came, the
Hmm.
computer on a chip, small
Hmm.
chip like this,
Yes.
that progress, and that was called microprocessor.
Hmm.
It was developed, and uh, then our confidence came that now
Hmm.
it can be developed on a chip. We can
Hmm.
develop now
Hmm.
many other things. And then came the journey of supercomputers.
So you mean that one could hello?
You can hear
So
it
you mean that one could go to the smaller scales after the microprocessor
after the
stage,
micro. So
right?
this is a defining time. So
Right.
this is in the journal in electronics called IEEE
Hmm. Hmm.
journal
Hmm.
reads
Hmm.
that development of transistor on one side
Right.
and development of microprocessor then
Yes.
after that
Yes.
1972, that's a defining state.
But then scientifically, should there be a limit of putting data on a chip of a small size?
No, I think we cannot restrict it.
Hmm.
My human imagination is infinite.
Okay.
I think we cannot put that only this much can be done and
Okay.
nobody is going to obey that. because
Mm-hmm.
new inventions will come,
Right.
new developments will occur, and
Mm.
and we'll progress ahead.
Okay.
And so some
So the
people say that no, now this is enough.
mm,
When we talk of artificial intelligence, this is enough. We should not allow them to, because one day
mm,
the capability machines will occupy the means will have such technology they will be beyond
mm.
the machines, beyond
Okay.
human intelligence.
So is that the extension of the Moore's law,
Yes,
which
it's a,
offers,
yes, it continues to
a kind of exponential growth in
that
achieving that?
exponential growth is
Mm.
up. These are called exponential technology. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm.
are called, this
Mm.
technology is exponential technology.
Okay.
And
So, but that trend of being exponential might also have some dangerous proportions or
naturally,
ramifications,
yes,
right?
naturally.
So, what do you foresee about that?
Yeah, I think that we will have to face
Mm-hmm.
that challenges will come,
Mm-hmm.
and we may go on that path, and that's what we are going.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
And
So now that we have entered the quantum computing
yes,
age, right?
yes, the quantum concept was came in the beginning of the
Mm.
19th century.
Okay.
I think that become,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and people started experimenting with it.
Mm.
Tomorrow's technology will be the quantum technology,
Mm-hmm.
where the smallest particle, not
In the 21st century, right?
yes,
The beginning of the 21st.
20,
Yeah.
20th century,
Mm.
20th century.
Mm.
So we'll have to face that, how
Mm.
to advance that technology further.
Mm.
So that's how the quantum labs began.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum labs
Mm.
in US
Mm.
and also in other countries.
Mm.
And we wanted to build a quantum mission. We proposed to the government
Mm.
that we have come to the this era now,
Mm.
microprocessor or transistor or electronics era.
Mm.
We must begin on the quantum era,
Okay.
and that was approved as a quantum mission. In
So,
this, yeah,
when uh, when we go to the quantum regions, we have all the quantum mechanical principles coming into operation, like superposition of wave functions and all that. And one of very significant things is to recall that there are no particles but only fields, and fields have infinite extent. Uh, so the quantum dots are somewhere lost in the infinite extent of their fields, and probably the calculations which are being done at the quantum regime may come from different parts of that field, which is spread through a wider region. What do you see?
so at that time, the major thing what humans achieved was that I think all the experiments, great scientists were born. Means
Mm, mm,
they were they thought that it is not a particle;
mm.
it is also a field.
Yes.
It is a
Yes.
wave.
Yeah.
So earlier waves of particles are
Mm,
were treated differently.
mm,
So it behaves like in a dual manner.
mm.
Sometimes it is a wave. Sometimes it is particle.
Right.
The way we want to look it now. One thing is human ingenuity is that
Yes.
the human imagination has come to it. Earlier it was not like that.
Right.
The way you want to look at it,
Yeah.
will experiment, you effect the
Right.
experiment.
So the observer comes
Observer.
into the
So
picture.
the observer came into picture,
Mm,
and this was precisely the observation of our rishis
mm.
earlier. That depends upon the nature. The world will appear to us depend on the how to look at them.
Yes.
Yes,
So does that also mean that reality is not absolute? Because if
reality is not absolute.
okay,
So reality is
so
as
that
a,
shows different faces to
yeah, dual
different observers.
dual nature,
Yeah.
and that is wave or particle depends upon how we want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many experiments on that.
Okay.
I think the
Mm-hmm.
duality of this
Right.
observation.
Now we have the many world interpretation
Yes,
where we say that reality has many facets. The moment you observe, only your part of reality appears in your world.
yeah, that is to be well understood in this.
Yeah.
That people are talking that if to explain this phenomena,
Hmm.
there must be real world interpretation of the universe. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so there may not be one universe. There may be simultaneously several universes.
Hmm.
There came the theory of multiverse,
Hmm.
and that's why my university I named it as multiversity.
Multiversity.
Yes, yes,
Right. I think that is more appropriate.
yes.
So, that multiversity must have
Means
some.
that view will be taught right from the beginning only,
Yes,
that there are several universes. And
right, right. So
how
we.
many? There are infinite universes.
Hmm.
Universes are continuously born and
Mm,
annihilated.
yes,
So that is a new theory, which
that
is,
that is true. That is
yes,
true. I think so. One could say well that there was no single event called the Big Bang, and there must have been the universe even before Big Bang,
yes.
and that is an eternal process. You know.
This eternal, as your Mahabhagavad, Bhagavad
Mm-hmm.
Purana
Mm-hmm.
tells us that several universes are born and annihilated. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the of
Right.
what is called a multiverse in which
Yes.
we are living
Mm.
actually.
Now, sir, there is a very important aspect of science and spirituality, and many people believe that they are the two sides of the same coin, while some other people say that they are actually synonymous and they have just single side.
Mm.
Right? Science is spirituality because it leads to spirituality. There is nothing like another side of the coin. What is your take on this?
Not only my take. What is the question? Is what is the reality? What does God want? And that is the question many
The,
people asked.
yes.
I think
Is there
yeah.
a reality in the
Oh,
ultimate
yeah,
form?
oh, yeah.
Because we just you just mentioned that reality appears different to different observers.
Yes, that is
Uh,
true. So
so.
that surprised everyone. That
Mhm.
is it a wave or particle or something else
Yes.
for that matter.
Mm.
So it was the observation was it was both simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
The way you want to look at it. Now,
Mm.
first time ever, I
Mm.
think the observer comes into picture. He- They did not believe, nobody
Right.
believed that the experimental outlook will
Yeah.
depend upon your own observation,
Yeah. Yeah.
how you are observing it.
Yes. Yes.
Because they themselves saw it, it is
Mm.
a particle,
Yes.
and at another time it is a wave.
Yeah.
And that's how the, the question of science and spirituality comes. Whether we are this body,
Mm-hmm.
means mind,
Mm.
or something else,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
spirit,
Mm.
as we call it. The
Mm.
spirit is something like the going beyond
Mm.
experimental level, like wave nature of the
Mm.
reality. It is beyond that, and that's spirit. That's your essential spirit
Mm-hmm.
was called spirit, and
Mm.
then the word spirituality was coined.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
but we see that we are simultaneously both.
Mm.
We are this body,
Mm.
we are this mind,
Yeah.
uh, and we are also the soul, as we call it, soul. Uh,
Yes.
th-
Yes.
so that was not a word of science at that time, soul. They did
Mm-hmm.
not accept, but that
Mm-hmm.
is a spirit.
Oh yeah.
So,
Spirit. So that was a kind of a holistic approach in order to understand
yeah,
the volume of our existence. I mean, our existence is not just in the physical form.
so that's a science very
Hmm.
important issue is that
Hmm.
what you brought the initially the question.
Hmm.
Your curiosity must arise
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
in your teaching.
Hmm.
The basic curiosity. What is this? What is this?
Yes.
What is this? What is this? And teachers must satisfy that curiosity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, whenever the student asks this question, don't ask. I
Hmm.
couldn't say.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have to satisfy his curiosity. I
Yes.
think is
So
fundamental.
that should not be killed at
Yeah,
any rate.
yeah.
Right.
I may
Uh,
not know the answer. We
hmm.
do not know the answers of many questions.
Yeah.
So that we should not teach that there is a defeat that we
Hmm.
don't know.
Hmm.
We will try to explore and learn.
That is true. Even today, when we talk about things like dark matter or dark energy, and then we say that okay, we can only understand to some extent about let's say only
That
five
means
only 5%
that
of
is
the universe,
that
right?
is understand we are
Yeah,
there is still lot to understand.
lot to understand,
The
right?
dark matter and dark
Yes.
energy and all that thing, and which
Mm-hmm.
which should not be understood now.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but our explorations must
Mm-hmm.
continue further, and
Mm-hmm.
that is continuing. We
Yes.
do not know the answers. I think
Mm-hmm.
one question is that while teaching, we may not know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So today, when the students start asking questions, or a child has asking
Mm-hmm.
question, how does that work, etc.
Yes.
So the question has come to satisfy that curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, which is part of learning.
Yes.
Thing as this is a uh, center for learning also.
Mm-hmm.
How we learn,
Mm-hmm.
how do you cognate, how
Mm-hmm.
do you learn? This is a particle, or this is a wave,
Mm-hmm.
or beyond that something else. So
Mm-hmm.
that curiosity must not be quenched.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I will learn from my teachers, I learn from books.
Yeah.
I learn from experiments, and that curiosity must be continuously kept alive.
Yes. So, sir, with the spirit of inquiry in science, I wish to know about your opinion on this statement. Sometimes it is said that there is no end to questions.
Yes, there should not be also.
So, science also works in that spirit.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely, sir.
it's not
Where
finding the end of this,
never were the questions.
and there are no final answers
There are no final answers. There are
mm,
no final answers
at all.
at all. Yes,
Okay, that's great. And the whole pleasure of doing science and research is only about traveling through this journey
yes,
and
I think often
not
we
reaching the destination.
are not reaching the destination because this destination
Hmm.
is infinite almost.
There are no final
No, no,
destination.
no. Because
Mm-hmm.
we are learning, we are
Hmm.
failing.
Hmm.
Sometimes we are not understanding.
Hmm.
But beyond it, the search must go on.
Hmm.
Search must go on, and that's how the scientific inquiry contributes to the new discoveries.
Yes. So that's a very great, in fact, inspirational thing coming from you, that we should not never believe that there are final answers
Yeah.
present, or we can answer something finally or eventually in a perfect way. There is no such final answer in science. It's all ad hoc, right? Ad hoc.
I don't know. We all
Mm-hmm.
learn something.
Hmm.
It's like they say that I was playing with some pebbles
Hmm.
on the shore, sitting on the shores, and I
Hmm.
found some very interesting certain things, and I
Right.
started playing with it. I then knew about them, how they
And they
were,
were like gems that,
James, and like
okay,
that.
that I could
So
discover.
those gems we'll
Hmm.
find as we go on.
Yeah. Yes.
The
Yes.
so the path is more important than
Hmm.
actually the result of this. So,
Hmm. Sir, what would you like to advise? What is, I mean, that gem of advice to our students and the faculty of this university? Now that you have visited this university, I think it is for the first time that you are visiting Lucknow University.
I'm visiting first time,
And
and
how was your experience being in Lucknow over the past one day at least?
when I learned that is one of the earliest early universities which we set up
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the last century, this
Hmm.
one kind of things,
Hmm.
and since then it has going on.
Hmm.
So and that's how we began the universities in 1857, like that
Hmm.
time. Some universities, but earliest universities were set up in India.
So we are 104 year old. I mean, we
104
are
100 years old.
more than 100 years
And
now.
then,
Hmm.
but many
Hmm.
universities are 400 years. But some
Yes,
the
yes,
earliest
yeah,
universities were set up in India.
yes.
India set up Takshashila University.
Mm-hmm.
That was very ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first university of the entire world was
Mm.
set up in India. We
Mm.
must take pride in that.
Mm.
That Takshashila, which is now in Pakistan, doesn't matter.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
doesn't matter because
Yeah,
this will keep on changing.
yeah. Once upon that was the
Uh,
all the entire
yeah,
single part,
but
you know.
Takshashila was the major step
Mm.
that how university could be,
Mm.
should be
Yes.
at that time,
Mm.
and that university is now Pakistan, so is now dilapidated
Yes.
state,
And
and
you were also the chancellor of Nalanda
I
University.
happen to be the
That
chancellor of
must have
it.
been a very
It was
amazing experience, I guess,
it
for
was
you.
a very defining time
Mm.
in my
Mm.
entire life
Mm.
that I got the opportunity to
Mm.
work in a as a chancellor of Nalanda University,
Mm-hmm.
where I think is Nalanda. There are movies on Nalanda. We are also making a movie on Nalanda.
Oh, I see.
What how the Nalanda was,
Okay.
and then how was the learning that time,
Mm.
and how the university got burnt, and
Mm-hmm.
why it was burnt,
Mm.
and all that. So this happened in many civilizations.
Mm.
The, the knowledge was treated as a precious resource.
Yeah.
If you have more
Mm.
knowledge,
Mm.
then yeah, I achieved some sort of a
Mm.
superior thing. Is that. So
Mm.
knowledge must be destroyed.
Mm.
If I have more knowledge than you,
Mm.
then knowledge must be destroyed. So there was libraries were burnt,
Okay.
and that's why Nalanda
Uh,
was burnt
uh-huh.
because
So we lost many things.
we lost many things in the
Mm.
period of history.
But then often sometimes people also make a statement that our ancient knowledge system, learning system was learning by rote, not by critical examination of facts. Is it true to some extent? What do
That
you
is
say?
very true that
Hmm.
much of the languages we criticize the rote learning today,
Mm-hmm.
but entire Sanskrit was taught in that manner. The correct
Mm-hmm.
pronunciations,
Mm-hmm.
correct meaning of the words,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, our purpose of life it is defined
Hmm.
that to give meaning to our life,
Hmm. Hmm.
to give more and more meaning, deeper meaning to our life,
Hmm.
and that's how we learn or we attain knowledge. So our destination is, I think, what Bronowski at that time said, or my human destiny is to acquire knowledge.
Hmm. So, in our ancient knowledge system,
Mm.
where was that spirit of inquiry? Was that prominently present
It
at
was
that time, or we had a long tradition of overwhelming tradition of learning by rote only?
we had this learning as you refer to,
Hmm.
that is called what Openasic learning.
Hmm.
That the teacher will sit in it under a tree,
Hmm.
and all the students will be around it,
Hmm.
and that's how the gurukuls came about.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a,
Yeah.
and there are method of very important method
Hmm.
at that time, and
Hmm.
this also for today's time.
Hmm.
Never say that I don't want to tell you. You first learn and go back, and
Hmm.
all that
Hmm.
kind of things.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But the inquiry must be satisfied.
Yes.
I must be able to satisfy my students,
Hmm.
and if you, at all you see the
Hmm.
Upanishadic,
Hmm. Hmm.
learning from Upanishads,
Yes.
where you are the quintessence of many such questions.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
discuss in that the question and answer. Including, I think women
Hmm.
asking questions.
Hmm.
The rishis have some both
Yes.
men and women,
Hmm.
is offsprings,
Yes.
and
And going into arguments.
going to arguments and
Yes. Yes.
debates,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and famous debates of Shankaracharya and
Hmm.
Mandan Mishra are
Vandan
well
Mishra.
known. I
Right.
think that the debates go on for months
Hmm.
together, I think.
Hmm.
And uh, then there
Yes.
is somebody who gives
So it is said that um, at the front door of Mandan Mishra's house there used to be some parrot,
yes.
right, reciting all shlokas and mantras also, and some sutras from the debates going on inside, because
Yes.
the parrot learnt it by rote, you know.
Oh, that very nice question. Actually, the parrot, these parrots were also so
Um,
adept in that kind of thing. Very good.
because it faced that kind of environment
Yeah, yeah.
every day, so it was also deeply
But
ingrained
more
for.
important is the open learning.
Mm-hmm.
Means if you want to offer
Mm-hmm.
uh, any particular to the center or the is
Mm-hmm.
that Upanishadic learning means question and answers.
Mm-hmm.
There are deep questions are there,
Right.
which the disciple asks the guru,
Mm.
and the guru slowly doesn't give the reveals at one time.
Yes.
He gives this experiential learning. So what
Mm.
happens? I think that
Mm.
what happens when you how the food has the effect. For example,
Mm.
your your education or
Yes.
your learning.
Yeah.
Then he asks the disciple to fast for
Mm.
1 week and
Mm.
come back.
Mm.
Then if he does that something, he will fast for 1 month, and then what happens to you?
Yeah.
Then he says, sorry, I'm losing my memory.
Mm.
I'm,
Mm. Mm.
I'm not now able to think.
Mm.
So what is the effect of
Mm.
food or your mind? That is that you
So the empirical
yeah,
kind of.
that is actually experimental.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Empirical learning.
Yes.
That by experience you learn.
Mm-hmm.
The guru doesn't give that this effect
Right. Right.
is
Right.
created.
Mm.
You face that experience,
Mm.
and you yourself get the answer.
Mm. That's so nice.
So centers like this,
Mm.
they must offer, or even we must experiential learning. They
Mm.
like that one when we are faced that we didn't have labs,
Mm.
so we could have complained and we cannot learn more.
That's right.
But if you make your labs,
Yeah.
your own labs,
Right.
I I remember C.V. Raman
Mm.
when people is asking question.
Mm.
So first, why don't you try? What is it?
Right. Right.
Not he doesn't give the answer. You
Right.
try yourself
Yes. Yes.
and come back to me with
Mm.
your findings.
Mm-hmm. So I think that is in keeping with the spirit of inquiry in
Yes,
science as well. You know,
and that's how new
learning,
discovery, new inventions
yes,
are made.
learning by one's own experience,
Yes,
and that is how we
and
included that empirical element after Galileo
experiential
also
learning
in modern science.
and life also is
Hmm.
experiential learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
I mean, what
Hmm.
kind of responsibility would you put on the shoulders of the so-called men of learning the social responsibility part.
No, it's a basic fundamental
Hmm.
way of learning, or how the we teach
Hmm.
as a small child.
Okay.
Our mothers teach small
Hmm.
child,
Hmm.
and it learns from that you don't go near the flame.
Hmm.
So unless he touches the flame, he doesn't know. That,
Right, right, right. Your work has one inspiration for us. So, whatever you did had always concerns for the fellow people in the society, and you always thought about even building when you were building supercomputer system, all that. You must have had the social connotations of the whole discovery, that they have to be of some use to the society. So when we talk of quantum computing and all that and rest of technology, the future technologies also,
yes.
do you think that they will be really useful for the society, or they can be also they can turn out like Frankenstein, demolishing the society in some way?
This question came really when nuclear technologies, Dr. Baba put
Hmm.
before us, and
Hmm.
the nuclear technology can be used
Hmm.
for making bombs,
Hmm.
and they were used in the Second World War.
Hmm.
I think the bombs were created,
Yes.
and they were compelled. I thought there is no way to defeat Japan,
Hmm.
and we must now. They put
Hmm.
at the time the new bombs we
Yes.
must make.
Yes.
We must make. We
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
compelled to make the bomb.
Hmm.
And the Mount Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yes, they
These
took
two
place.
bombs were made,
Yeah.
and with great, I think, and they were tried, and there was human tragedy of
Hmm.
untold proportions.
Hmm.
So
But now there is a general apprehension which may be far more dangerous than Hiroshima or Nagasaki,
yes,
because in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, now there is a great amount of fear looming large on our heads,
yes,
that this artificial intelligence can take over and probably ruin or destroy our own intelligence systems and probably the entire mankind from the
yeah,
planet.
there are movies made on
Uh-huh.
that. You see that kind of there are very
So hope
interesting
I
movies.
we should hope that it remains only in the movies. I mean, not comes
No, no,
to
it
the
will happen.
reality.
It will be definitely,
Mm-hmm.
if it can be made into movies,
Hmm.
then definitely he'll realize
So
that
you
is.
mean the fictions
So we
can?
have to bring.
Mm.
That's why I'm talking
Mm.
about bringing science and spirituality through
Mm.
education
Mm.
together.
Mm.
This is the scientific aspect of it.
Right.
This is the spiritual aspect of it.
All right.
Spirituality, that wisdom must come to us.
So you mean that it is the right time
Yes,
when we should realize
yes, yes,
which way to go?
yes.
Right.
There is no one way.
Mm-hmm.
In both there are many ways. Which
Mm.
way to choose?
Mm-hmm.
Which way to choose? That wisdom must be endowed us, come
Yes.
to us.
Yes. Great. Now, sir, finally, I would like to ask as to what are your expectations from the youth?
No,
Like,
from youth, I want to say that knowledge is infinite. It is
mm,
well known.
mm-hmm,
It's like ocean.
mm,
I think this question was asked to the great thinker of the time, Greek thinkers of
mm-hmm,
Socrates,
yes,
and he says that the only thing I know
mm,
after learning so much
mm,
is that I know nothing. You must be humble.
right.
I cannot expect to know everything. Huh? The only thing I know, I know nothing. Teachers
And so,
that way, and
uh,
that's why we respect teachers
uh,
by me respecting them. The way I know so little,
and that is probably the reason why the men of learning are very humble,
humble.
like you.
You, I can't claim that I want to be like that. I know I can never be proud of my, say, PhD in this, and I have so many doctorates and so many things like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So I must be humble.
I hope that your stay in Lucknow will be really very, very um, good and beneficial for our
I was
students
just
and
observing
for
that
faculty.
this is an
But
ancient city.
today you were the chief guest of our convocation,
Yes.
and the message you conveyed actually went through the hearts and minds of our generation, younger generation.
I was very impressed with the performance of the girl students,
Mhm.
and which is happening in almost all universities.
That's
The
true.
girl students are going beyond boys, and we must accept it humbly.
Yes. So that
This
is
is
a that is a very good sign. I
yeah, we should not
Yes.
be competing with girls, but we must be collaborating with girls. Girls have some
Yes.
distinctive abilities.
Right.
Men also have some distinctive abilities.
That's true.
I think which are different from humans.
Now,
And
my mind darts back to uh, the incidents regarding Madame Curie in Europe,
yes, yes,
when the
yes,
girls were not promoted,
yes, the girls were not.
and they were discouraged.
Their evidence was not regarded as true evidence
Yes.
in the courts.
Even at Cambridge
They
University.
had no voting rights.
Right, right, right.
Yes, whereas India has voting rights for their
Right,
husbands.
right.
Swayamvar,
Yeah,
Swayamvar used by Sita
that's
Sita
right.
in the
Uh,
Draupadi and the thing.
at
So
Cambridge also, girls were prohibited
yeah,
from obtaining the PhD degree.
yes.
So,
So, so India has been very liberal. That's why I think
mhm.
we must have a liberal education. And we said this should not be done and that should not be done. Let them discover themselves.
So
But
eventually, that's a very good sign. And
so that's why we're promoting liberal education.
liberal education
Yes,
in the
yes,
national education
yes.
policy, we are promoting
We are
it.
talking the liberal
And
education.
let me tell you that we at Lucknow University are the first university to have implemented the national education
Very good,
policy
very
right
good.
in that spirit. So that will take us a
So
long way.
national education policy must be seen that in
Mm.
that perspective.
Mhm.
Why liberal education is required?
Yes,
Wherever we do not have some religions don't allow
right.
women to learn and all
Mhm.
that kind of things.
And that gives a lot of
Uh,
flexibility, and probably that is a very rational
and there were
approach.
debates.
Mhm.
Girls will ask us so many questions,
Mm.
and there is a facility for choosing girls
Mm.
their own husbands.
Yes.
Yes, and there are tests for that
Mm.
before the kings,
Right.
and
That's true.
that was a very liberal view.
Yeah. And we are promoting that.
They are
I mean,
promoting that.
having implemented the national education policy,
Yeah,
definitely
please
we shall.
promote that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Certainly.
So, sir, with this we come to the end of our
So
this
go back
show.
to go to inconvenient truths. A teacher may not know, but it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
But we
Yeah.
learn together,
That
teachers
is
and
true.
students.
That's true. That's
We
true.
learn together.
Yeah, we learn together. I don't know the final answer,
I don't know the answer.
but we will explore it,
I'm,
the answers together.
I should say that I
Yeah.
don't know. I will explore it
Mm,
along with you.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And that is the reason why it is the endless journey.
Yes.
And we have to enjoy the journey rather than worrying about the
Yes.
destination. All right. Thank you very much, sir. It brings us to the end of our this short interaction. We are fortunate to have Dr. Bhatkar with us. We learned a lot of things from the inspiring personality like him. Would like to definitely implement them at our University of Lucknow in future. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us.